So which is it? Urban, jungle, gym, or live together, play together, or both, which would be an awful long name for a sneaker. The urban, jungle, gym, live together, play together. Air Force One, Nike Air Force One. I don't know which it is. Well, I've seen both names out there, and it might be that there's, a tie-up between all of that and the urban, jungle, gym and the live together, play together bit. Doesn't really matter. We've talked about this recently. It was, it was the Air Max 90s and the Air Force Ones, both with that sort of recycle feel. The Air Max 90s were the court purples and the Air Force One were the electric greens, but I think they looked like a pack and they won't actually be sold under those names. And in those videos I said it didn't matter what they're sold under, because what we're doing is looking at what the shoe looks like, not what the name is on the shoe. Because when it's a fire shoe, it doesn't really matter. They could call this the Nike Air Force One Black and it would still look good because it's a great looking shoe. Or they could call it the Nike Air Force One Live Together, Play Together, Urban Jungle Gym, and it'll still look good. It doesn't really matter. But that's where we're going today. This is today's video. And to get into that, if you do know the actual official name of these guys, definitely let us know in the comments down below. But in parking it aside, what we want to do is have a look at all the hits that make this one of the coolest shoes of the season. So without further ado, let's get into this Nike Air Force One Live Together, Play Together, Urban Jungle Gym. This is a Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channelです。毎日アップするので、毎日見てください. And every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And I betcha I'm the only one in the world who made these two connections to this one shoe. Now, it's possible that people out there made this connection to this shoe, or it's possible that people out there made that connection to this shoe. But I think there won't be many people like me that made the connection between both of these things to this one shoe. But if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments down below, and I'm going to tell you right now what I'm talking about. So this shoe, the design on it has echoes of two shoes, one from last year and one from the year before, that I just can't help but look at this shoe and not think of. And I'm talking about the colors. I'm going to go into this later in the video and show you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different places on this shoe that have really hot colors and really cool design. And it's those colors that remind me of two different shoes, one from last year, one from this year, or was it one from 2 years ago and one from last year? Anyway, one from the last 2 years and one from the last year. And I'm going to tell you about that right now. And what I'm talking about is the older of the two shoes is a Jordan 2, which is rare in itself because there aren't that many Jordan 2s that roll around these days. And what I'm talking about is a Black History Month Jordan 2, boing, that's right there. And it's to do with the black half of that. That was a very black shoe, but on the black half round about the heel and the heel counter element of the shoe, there was a lot of color, a lot of texture to do with the way that that shoe was pulled together and the design elements on the back. And it was to do, the colors and the patterning was to do with like the African culture and the African continent. And when I look at this shoe, especially the tongues, the insoles and the heels, now we'll get into that today, and you guys have to keep a picture in your head about what those Air Jordan 2 Black History Months look like on the back so that you can see the parallel to the tongues, insoles and heels on today's shoe. And then the other shoe is right here, is the Air Jordan 6 K54. And I think I'm right in saying that's from last year. It might be from this year. I forget. I mean, I've done how many days? Like 700 consecutive days of content. And if I get a bit sort of loose in which shoe came at which time, it's because there's so many that I've done for the channel. But that again doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The when doesn't matter. It's the what. And hopefully what you're looking at here is the colourful variant, because there was a less colourful variant of this Air Jordan 6 for K54. But the colourful variant has a big tie up to today's shoe as well. The same kind of patterning, the same kind of colours. And if I remember the promotional materials right for that K54, it was very much tied together in that way. I had a lot of these similar colours, African themes in the shoe. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at that. I'm going to show you the colour points on the shoe and why they're important and how they pull the shoe together, what the unique features are of the shoe, and why I think it's one of the shoes to definitely get into and go and have a look at for this upcoming season. So first things first, we'll look at the obvious detailing on there. And we'll start with the small stuff first. There's 2 small details and then 3 big details we want to look at. So small detail number 1, we're zooming in on the quarter line. You can see a multicolour outline of a basketball on there, which represents the colourfulness of the shoe, represents the basketball history of the shoe, and it represents a kind of narrative theme of this shoe. Very cool little detail, which alone would have been enough We could have been, that's it. That's all you need in this shoe to make it fire. But they went for more. And where I'm talking about them going for more, it's an interesting place to look because you get a look at the lower part of the lacing system. And this gives you a sense of how deep grey the lacing system is against that black background. It would have been easy to go with black leather on here, but what I'm seeing is deep grey. And I'm also seeing suede and not leather. It might be roughed up leather, but I'm feeling it's suede. And that's contrasted right at the bottom of the lacing system with a jagged line of oversized stitching in yellow, which again reinforces that colourful, playful edge on this shoe. And that only works because it's a black shoe with a white kind of base to it, and therefore the colours really pop off of that because it's such a simple silhouette underneath the little hits that they really highlight those little hits and serve to sort of contrast between the two. So we've had the basketball on the quarter line, we've had the yellow stitching at the bottom of the lacing system where you can also see, I think I'm right in saying, a silver Dubray down there with the AF1 insignia on it. Interesting because we'll get to an Air Force One High later in the week, which actually has a gold Dubray down there instead of silver. And then we go up from that, we get to the three main features on the shoe, which tie it back to those Jordan 2s and Jordan 6s that I was talking about before. And that's very obvious up the top of the tongue there. And you can see a whole heap of colour starting to play around in this shoe. The tongue branding itself, all in different colours. It looks more like that basketball down below with the multicolour effect going on in there. And on that black background, it really pops off as well and gives us a really strong idea of what the shoe looks like and what the shoe's feel and theme is. But then we go back from that and have a look down into the insole, and then we get tons of colour, and it really is kicking off. And you're thinking, man, they've really put a lot into these colours with the white sort of branding on top of them, very similar to the top of the tongues there, but then the background to that, there's all of this colour and all of this sort of sparkly feel to it. And it's very, very cool. And then my favourite place to look at on the shoe is around the back, where you really see it's very much like those Black History Month Jordan 2s, where the main sort of pop-in feature of the shoe that's very obvious is on the back half in those heels. And you see those colours again playing all together in the different sort of little bits of paneling. What's interesting on there though is the way it's divided again by that very thick darkened line, which mimics the sort of outline of the lacing system that I talked about already. And then around that you've got those colours on the heels, which gives you a really cool feature on the shoe. Now, if we come back out and have a look at the lateral side, we've gone through all the colourful stuff. The colourful stuff on there is the quarter line basketball, the bottom of the lacing system where the stitching is, the top of the tongues in colour, the insoles, and then the heels, lots of colour. But then we come back out and look at the lateral side, and it is that simple black shoe with a white swoosh on it. Very simple, but there is a place, I think they made the right choice in this. I think if they tried to be a bit too clever here, it wouldn't have worked. And what I'm talking about is that the white midsole has black branding on it. Now, it would have been easy to try and say the first line in red, the Air in blue, and then the second line in green, for example. But I think that would have been too much and would have detracted from the other colourful elements of the shoe. I think keeping the base of the shoe in the monochrome black and white works. So having a white midsole with black branding on it works. But also what works is not a white outsole. If they'd gone with a white outsole, it would have been too big and too dominant for the rest of the shoe. But having the white midsole, which is large and chunky, but a black outsole wrapping around that, it sort of keeps that low key, and that helps you to keep your eye on the colours and the design and the branding on the shoe, as opposed to the base black and white Air Force One that this shoe is. So for me, it's a big yes on this shoe. I love everything about it. Now we're talking about a drop date on December the 1st in North America, but there's also talk about it already having dropped in Asia and Europe. I haven't seen it, but that doesn't mean a thing because I don't see everything. I'm not the all-seeing eye. But December the 1st in the States, in North America, potentially already dropped in Europe or dropping real soon in Europe at a different time. I always wonder why they have different drop dates like that for shoes. I kind of get it if they drop early in America where the shoe maybe was made or based and then later around the world. But in the case of these ones, they're saying it's going Europe first and then America second. So we'll see if that's what it turns out to be, and if these guys do come around on December the 1st. It's a very cool shoe leading us into that winter season, which is going to be very big for many of the brands. Okay, time for me to sign off. finish up this video, another video of this daily content as we churn our way towards the end of the second year and into year 3 at the channel. Very big, props to me for keeping it going. Daily content on YouTube is not an easy thing to do, but we're still churning it out, and I'm going to keep on keeping on. For now though, it's time for me to sign off. Thank you guys for checking out the content, and I'll just say what I say at the end of every single video, which is to remind you, even though you don't need reminding, that I do this every single day, and that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.